All right, hello there. How's everyone? Psychology. Um, Hope everybody's doing all right. Um, anyway, I'm just going to jump into it. I'll let you know more about grades and all that stuff. I'm going to post your reviews and all that, and we'll have to adjust some stuff, but we'll get through it. So if this is a little choppy and jumpy, just bear with me. Sorry. We were, if you remember this at all, in the middle of defense mechanisms, and I believe the last one we did is reaction formation. If you need any kind of update on that or redoing of that, let me know. Um, your outline, I've put it on the page, but you should be able to download it or look at it if you don't have one. If you have one, that's what I do. But I'm just going to try to finish defense mechanisms today. The last five, it won't take all that long with no discussion and all that. So here we go. If you, like I said, if you have questions, I'll try to give examples and all that. So our next one is called projection. I don't think we did this one. Projection is something that a person puts their own feelings onto somebody else. So let's say that you are in choir and you don't get the solo that you were going for. And teacher hates me. That's why she didn't give me the solo. I know she does. I can tell the way she looks at me. But in reality, you're the one that hates the teacher. You just won't admit. I don't hate her. It's fine, but it's her. It seems to have the problem with me. That's projection. Okay? Helps you to avoid any kind of taking responsibility for, why didn't you get the solo? Probably because you're not that good. No offense. Sports, same way, playing time. Sometimes a parent, if you get, your brother or your sister gets away with something you don't get away with, and the parent hates you, even though you're the one that hates it. It's not like you hate them. Like I hate everything about you. It's, in this instance, I hate you or hate what you've done, kind of thing. Okay? So that's a fairly simple one, and we all do it. And it's hard to admit it because it makes you look weak and all that. And it helps avoid confrontation. Think about a lot of these avoiding confrontation. The next one is probably one of the two most common ones, displacement. You guys ever see Incredibles? When Bob Parr goes home, he has that big fight with his boss. And he goes home and he gets out of the car, and then he slips on his kid's skateboard and he grabs the car and it bends the car because he's so strong. He's like, and he lifts the car up, and then he looks over and he sees that little kid on the tricycle. What are you looking at? And then the guy's like, I don't know, something amazing, I guess. Then he puts it back down. Displaced anger against the car, displaced anger against the kid, and so on and so forth. So if you want a definition, it's when you take out your anger on something other than the source of the anger. Take out your anger on something other than the source of the anger or the frustration. Your girlfriend breaks up with you, you punch a wall. You don't get a promotion at work and you come home and kick the dog. Or you yell at your kids. Or you take out your anger at, it could be years later. The classic, I got cut from sports team, so I go and 10 years later I go to the high school game and yell at the coach that cut me. Like, do something different, you suck, that kind of stuff. So displaced anger can be immediate. You guys that are firstborns, it's often easy to displace anger at your siblings. I know I've done it for sure. But it's a very, very common thing. Because the target that you choose normally can't fight back. A wall can't fight back. A dog can't really fight back. A little kid can't fight back. And so on. But we do it. And it's usually negative. Like displacement is negative. Kicking the dog is negative. We'll talk about positive stuff in a little bit. Okay? Next one, rationalization. This is something that we do it all the time. Classic. Um, you ask a girl out or a boy out or whatever, and either they say no or they say, well, I kind of busy and I just want to be friends, and you know what that means if you have any awareness. And you say either to them or to yourself, oh, that's okay, I was busy anyway. Or, well, she's not that hot. Or, I think, as more I think about it, she's kind of boring. But they're really not. You just telling yourself that. Or you get cut from a sports team, or you don't get that solo. I didn't really want that solo. It's too much work. I didn't want to play anyway. It's stupid. That game's stupid. I like this game better. And the only reason you say that is because it helps you from having to admit, again, well, you got cut for probably a good reason. Okay? And we rationalize this all the time. We rationalize things like, oh, I don't know. Let's say you're married and your spouse is on a diet and you eat the rest of the ice cream. And they're like, what, you ate all the ice cream? I'm like, yeah, I was just trying to help you lose weight. That's rationalization. And that's also, well, you know, Bravo Sierra. A lot of this is in this case. So, questions on that one? Okay, next we have sublimation. Sublimation is when you take something negative that happens and you turn around and do something positive, usually related to it. So picture something like you get cut from a ball team again, and you're like, "Why did I get cut, coach?" Well, because you're not strong enough to compete in the um, on the court kind of thing. Sorry. So you go and start lifting weights, and you don't go lift weights out of anger, like you lift weights out of, well, I'm going to make myself stronger, and then next year I'll make the team, and even if I don't make the team, I'll be in better shape, and so on and so forth. Some people, and this may sound silly, but some of you may do this, journaling, blogging, I guess now more, in a positive way. A classic example would be a woman that's been abused or raped or something, and she turns around and becomes an advocate for women's rights, or she opens a shelter, a crisis center for women that have been sexually assaulted or beaten by their husbands or something like that. Or you go do art, good therapy there, to work out your feelings of rejection, or you work out your feelings of inadequacy or whatever it is, kind of thing. This is something that's, it's kind of like displacement turned around. You're displacing the anger into something positive that helps either you or others or both. In many cases, if you talk about some woman that opens a rape shelter, she's helping other women, obviously, but she's also helping herself in the sense that I'm doing something good, I'm doing something positive. I feel much better about myself, and it helps me move on from my trauma. So, good stuff there. And finally, we have compensation. Shrek is the ultimate example here, if you've ever seen that. If you haven't, then sorry. But Lord Farquaad, you've heard me mention his name anyway, compensates for his lack of height. So compensation, when you take overcompensate or overdo one area to compensate for a lack of something else. Okay, so I'm short, I become real aggressive. I drive a big car. I make sure I have a tall girlfriend. I make sure I become wealthy. Okay. You guys, again, in sports, it's so common to see an aggressive little person. Very, very common. That's one. There's a bunch of these, actually. You think about someone with a weight issue who weighs a lot. A lot of times, that person becomes maybe the class clown, the joker, or they become real smart, or they become real, we've talked about the actually guy. Actually, I've looked this up, and this is what it really means. In an attempt to kind of deflect or overcompensate for their weight issue. Or they become, this is kind of controversial, but it does happen, like heavier people, I suppose girls tend to do this more. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. Sexually. Like they become more easy, I guess, is one way to put it, to compensate for the weight. Sometimes with height, with tall people, ask yourself if you've ever seen very many tall, really aggressive people. And you think about the tall people in your school. And I don't want to name names here, but most of them, at least in my experience, and I've had several people, always, all through the years, but even this year, they're not aggressive. Matter of fact, a lot of times they'll kind of hunch and they'll kind of talk quietly and all that, because it's that whole, think if Shaq were really mean, that could be a big problem, to say the least. Another one would be if somebody's not very smart. They often become joker, and if they're not smart enough to be very funny, they just fart noises and armpit farts, and be the guy that does the eyelids and the ear wiggling and all that stuff, which usually most people outgrow by whatever grade. But they'll do that, or they'll do bad boy, whether it's criminal or whether it's the making fun of the teachers or just doing the pranky stuff is pretty common there as well. So you got lots of cases there. Sometimes it gets into race. If you're a kid in a school where you're a minority, you might become more like the majority to kind of compensate for that, or you become, I don't know, overly, quote, black acting, overly white acting, whatever kind of thing. Macho-ness sometimes happens here. To if you're slight, sometimes you'll work out and wear clothes that accentuate and try to be all bully, or try to be the type big talker kind of guy. So, all right, well, that's about it. Any questions you have, just let me know, and stay safe. Have a good day. All right, see ya.